7:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time outside of March 20th, 2024. I'm going to start doing a video every day till my last breath. I paid a psychic $100, I think it was $80, to give me a reading. And this one psychic said that I'll live to about my mid-80s. So that sounds like a pretty decent life, I guess, if you want to look at it that way. I'm 54. My daughter is coming home on the weekend to spend time with her father because it's his birthday. No, this will be the first year that I've decided not to buy him anything for his birthday or to say happy birthday at all. I feel no need to celebrate his life or his love that we have together any longer. I am pretty much convinced at this point, and it's taken a lot to be able to let go of my love for him, that it's over. And nobody feels sorry for me. Nobody feels sad for me. Nobody gives a fuck that I've wasted 35 years of my life, if that's how you want to say it. I don't believe that I've wasted 35 years of my life. A lot has happened in 35 years. I guess that's the hardest thing, to make your children, even though they're adults, to have them understand that a lot of things can happen in even 10 years. A lot of things can happen in 2 years. You never even know from one day to the next if your whole world can fall apart or not. You could be devastated, or you could have a heart attack, or you could be dead. I honestly feel like nobody in my family would care whether I was alive or dead tomorrow. I don't think any of them care to celebrate my life or the love that I've given them all of these years and my time. When I was raised from my mother, it sounds like there was a lot of us like that. I'd wake up in the morning and I may get a good morning, depends on the day. I always knew she had trouble with herself mentally, but I never judged her for it. She was just my mom. I accepted her for who she was, who she wasn't, and who she could never be. I had to be her therapist a lot from a young age of like 5. I had to be there for her, had to tell her that everything was going to be all right and that she was loved almost every day when she didn't think she was. And I was always there for her and loved her unconditionally, and it didn't really get me anywhere. But growing up as a child, I'd go to school, I'd come home, and you didn't really come home after school until supper time. You'd eat and then pretty much be gone again until dark, and then you have to be home before it got dark, and then maybe you'd watch some TV, have a shower or something, go to bed, wake up the next day and go to school again. There wasn't, we'd eat at the table and have supper and stuff, but I never really knew my mother. She never really let me in much on her life. She would tell me about all the things that would make me feel sorry for her, like, oh, they, did this and they did that, and I was an orphan, and boo-hoo, and I tried to understand her life, but I also tried to explain to her, well, you don't have that life anymore. You have a family now. You have children who love you. You have a husband who loves you. You have a house. You have food on the table. You have everything. Her dad was never home. So I never really had any time with my dad, really. I don't remember a whole lot. Maybe for a couple of hours on the weekend if we weren't down there at his family, because that's all he wanted to be with, was around his siblings, their family. He never wanted to stay home for the weekend to just spend time with us. I guess that was too boring for him. We'd drive over 2 hours in a fucking car, 2 hours back at the end of the weekend, every weekend for my entire childhood, and it sucked. I mean, it was a nice drive in a Cadillac and shit, but long ass drives. We didn't have seatbelts back then. He never spent time with me when we were there, when we were at relatives. We'd have to find ways to entertain ourselves, driving around in lawnmowers or tractors or fucking wandering around in the bush, doing whatever. All of his family was fucking living in small towns, hick towns, or fucking country homes where there was nothing you could fucking do. Anyway, I never complained, right? We'd have good meals, good supper, and there'd be singing after supper and celebration for everybody and entertainment, and I enjoyed it. I sang, did whatever I could to be near my father. My mother was always in the kitchen, either doing dishes or help cooking meals for fucking breakfast, lunch, supper. At home and at the relatives, that's what they did. We never really got to know our parents, so how would I know any different but my mother never spent time with me. She never asked how I was. She never really cared that I was bullied in school. She didn't really give a shit about anything, and told myself if I ever have children one day, I would be the opposite of that. I'd give them all the attention in the world and take them to parks and be overprotective over them and make sure nothing happened to them and protect them as best I could. I thought if you do the opposite of what was so terrible for you, it's got to be the right thing to do. I never studied, but nobody studies books to raise a fucking child. My son, 25-year-old son, is like, whoa, they have books out there. It's like, well, I wasn't really a good reader, and I didn't have a whole lot of patience when it came to reading books, so I wasn't very good at that, and I didn't really, you pass on the beliefs and everything that you know, that you grew up. You pass it down from lineage, from your family to the family you were raised in to yours, and you keep the beliefs that you believe are just and right, and you let go of the stuff that hurt you, and you try not to do that to your kids if you're smart. I did all of that. I'm here, questioning my worth. Apparently I did it all wrong. That loving your children too much is wrong. Does that make any sense? And the person that caused the most difficulties and problems in our family is the one that my daughter loves the most. Tell me that's not messed up. It's messed up. But I get it. I mean, he's financial support. He's everything. He buys her everything she wants. Gives her all, takes her everywhere she wants to go. And fucking, he makes meals for her, and he puts it on a tray, and he fucking serves her steak and fucking potatoes and rotisserie chicken, and fucking goes into town and pizza every other day, and fucking burgers and fries and the whole fucking 9 yards, like the whole enchilada. I don't even get that. I'm his wife for 35 years. As a matter of fact, I didn't get anything anymore from him, and I get blamed for that too. I get blamed because apparently that's all my fault too. That he doesn't want anything to do with me anymore. It's because of me or some fucking shit like that. And it's like, well, I don't quite understand. I want to make these videos because I can't talk to my children. And I can't talk to my husband. And I know one day I'm not going to be here on this earth anymore. I do find solace in the fact that nobody's going to miss me and that nobody will show up at my funeral. That's actually my worst nightmare, you know. It's my biggest fear is that nobody will want to show up at my funeral to celebrate my life. They'll all, you know, be out fucking getting drunk and fucking celebrating the fact that I'm gone. Happy. Finally, she's gone. I want you to see these eyes. I want you to see that pain. I want you to see the tears. These tears are for my ungrateful family. I'm grateful for all the things that I've done for all of you. And that I'm happy that you're happy, that I'm suffering, but I'm not happy for me because my daughter expects me to heal and be a better person. How can you be a better person when she tells you she doesn't want anything more to do with you for the rest of your life? You tell me how you would deal with that. She's just starting her life and she wants nothing to do with me. I was listening in on a little conversation once. I heard from two horses' mouths how much they distaste me as a human being, and my own husband saying that he hates my fucking guts. But he says it's complicated. I'm like, I'm sure it is. It's complicated because you get $1,800 a month from me. So I'm a money to him. I used to be money and sex, but now I'm just money because my body is so disabled and has so many problems I can't do anything to satisfy him anymore, because whenever I try, I hurt for days or I itch for days after he's done with me, and I woke up one morning and I said, whatever fucking disease he's got, whatever's fucking wrong with him, whatever STDs he has that he's not fucking fixing, I don't want it anymore. I don't want any of it. I don't think he's clean. I really don't. He's certainly not clean up here. He's the most disgusting, biggest pervert that I've ever met on this planet Earth, and even the demons would say yuck. I'll wipe his ass with toilet paper and put it in the garbage can right beside the couch and leave it there for days, mixed with lube. That's gross. But it's also fitting because he is an ass. In many ways, he's an ass. Anyway, we'll bypass the ass part. He's obviously hurt me a lot for the last 35 years to get me to this point to be able to say that kind of thing. He's not nice to me anymore. Name calls me every day, doesn't talk to me, stays away from the house and me for 18 hours a day. There's nothing left. in me that would have any kind of love towards him whatsoever. I just don't. I simply don't know him anymore. The person that he's become is some trans man who likes to wear boobs and pink sweaters, lace, silk, satin, and fucking tights with all kinds of flowers on them, whatever, notes or whatever he fucking does. I'm not here to judge, but it doesn't turn me on. I certainly doesn't say anywhere on my marriage certificate that I married a trans man. But that's just me. I have a heterosexual preference. It's who I walk down the aisle to marry. I have nothing against trans men. It's just mine came out and started being like this after about 20 years of marriage. Started taking my clothes and my dresses and my shoes. Anyway, who am I to judge? It's my video, my husband. I want to talk about how I feel. I want to talk about memories. Things that come to my mind about my children. I decided at a very young age that I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. And that I wouldn't have children unless I could be home for them 24 hours a day, be there to raise them and not have a stranger raise them, you know. That's what I wanted. I thought it was the right thing to do, and so I chose that path. I sacrificed work, money, nice things, everything to be with them, to give them everything I could ever imagine, they could ever imagine having, you know, a mother that's there for them day and night, at their beck and call. My son loved balls. It's the first word I think he ever said was the word ball. Well, it wasn't mom, it wasn't dad, it was ball. And, one day we were in our first home. It was a duplex on a street called Davis Drive, and he was in the living room in his little playpen. I put him in his playpen sometimes when I needed to do dishes or make supper or something. I had been with my husband there for a few years at that point. Longer than that. We were together for over 8 years at that point. I waited for a while before we had our first child. We met in 89. I didn't have my son Terry until like 95. So 6 years or something. Anyway, no, I had him in 98, sorry. Yeah, that's 8 years. About 8 years. Nine years. I was in my late 20s. I believe I was 29 when I remember I was at the mall. I always go to the mall. I could always walk to the mall where we lived. And that was kind of neat because I'd go there every day I never had money to buy anything, so I would dream one day of being able to buy nice things. My husband never gave me money. I never got allowance or money to buy anything nice. When I was in the military, I hurt my knee and injured my knee, so I got $140 once a month, and I would take that $140 buy myself, at least one thing nice. Mostly at garage sales, though. So I could get more things there. It's cheaper than at the malls. Anyway, last day before I went to the hospital to deliver my son, I was at the mall, up on the second level there, looking down in the glass. I was about in the center of the mall. I remember I had my first contraction. And I went home. And it was time to go to the hospital. Anyways, when he was about 2 years old, I had him in a playpen. And I bought like a bag of balls somewhere, I don't know, $10 somewhere. It was like 30 of them, and I'd put them all in his playpen, and he'd go to the edge of his playpen, he'd pick them up, toss them back out of the playpen, and chase after the balls and put them back in the playpen, and he'd toss them out again, and we'd play this game over and over again. He loved the Teletubbies. I believe that was his first movie that he liked a lot. We used to watch the Teletubbies every day. And his favorite was Lala, the yellow one. Well, when he was a baby, they had a fountain down the road there. And he loved water and fountains for some reason when he was a baby, and I would put him in the stroller. We'd walk around the block, but we'd always stop at the fountain, and I think I probably would take him out of the stroller so I could put his hands in the fountain if I could reach it. I don't remember if I reached it or not, but most of the time we would just go around in a little circle there at that apartment complex and just let him look in awe at the fountain. And he loved the sandbox too. Whenever we'd go to the sandbox, he loved playing in the sand and getting all dirty. It was always nice. As he got a little older, he was into the Bob the Builder, and he loved Hot Wheel little cars. And he was obsessed over the fire truck. Yeah, he loved the fire truck. And when we moved to Texas for a couple of years there, we had a chance to become millionaires, but it didn't happen, and out of circumstances it didn't happen. But we decided we'd take the chance, and there was a school that was walking distance there, and I put him in his little red remote car that I got somewhere for a cheap price, and he'd press the button and we'd go to the big school there because it had a big field that he could play with and stuff. I had thyroid problems back then, so I got really tired all the time medically, and they wouldn't give me any medicine to help with that, so I wish I would have known about wake-up pills back then, so I would take caffeine pills. I don't know. I did know about them. I probably did take them, actually, but I was always afraid that I'd fall asleep because he was a baby, and so we never stayed out for long. We'd go there because there was a big fire truck that he could climb into and on and around. It was shaped like a fire truck. He was always afraid of water, though. It took him a long time to learn how to ride a bike. He was always afraid of the bike. We tried really hard. He was fine in the training wheels, but we could never take the training wheels off, really. He had to get a friend that he made to teach him how to ride their bike. He got brave one day while I wasn't watching and learned how to ride a bike, and he loved the bike ever since then for many years. We made lots of friends up to the age of 9 when we were on the military bases. We got along well with the other kids, and they all liked him. And lots of female friends. We always got along with the females better than the males. But he made lots of friendships. He didn't like sitting still at school like most boys. He'd always get scolded for that, and we'd get talked about that. Oh, something might be wrong with him. But he was always assessed, and they said nothing was wrong with him. Anyway, my daughter, have this vivid memory of Serena. We were at the hospital. And we were at the hospital. She was born in the same hospital as Justin Bieber. But anyway, in Belleville, Ontario. Born in the same hospital. He was raised in that same town. Where was I when I had contractions? I don't remember right now. I just knew it was time. I don't know who Steve found to take care of Terry. I went to the hospital first. Labor happened within 5 hours after I arrived. I wanted a daughter so bad. I remember I filled the little suitcase with, my sister gave me this little red dress. It was so tiny, you know. When she was born, she didn't fit into that dress because she was, you know, she was almost 8 pounds when she was born. 7.5 pounds, I think. And, well, she didn't hesitate to come out, that's for sure. When it was time, she was out like you wouldn't believe, but it stung. It wasn't an easy labor either. You know, it was quite painful. And then they put her on my chest, and I remember my husband looked up at me and said, "You have your daughter." This is all I wanted, you know, as a daughter. And I sang happy birthday to her while she was on my chest. I hadn't even really cleaned her yet, or weighed her or anything. I sang happy birthday to her, and I said that I loved her so much. I believe I gave her a little kiss. And I took her away and got her all cleaned up. I remember taking her home. I have this vivid memory of me I had a whole bedroom full of little dresses and outfits. My mother filled my whole bedroom that I was raised in there in my hometown with baby clothes, mostly girl stuff. And so many dresses and stuff, and I had them all washed, and they were all folded on top of my bed. And I remember on this day in particular, Serena was about a month old. I was playing dress up with her, like a little doll. I'd put an outfit on her, and then I would ooh and ah, tickle her toes, and then I would take that outfit off and put on another and another. Tried on all the dresses, you know. She was like this little doll. She was so perfect. She rarely cried. Of course, I did feed both of my babies on demand, so they were never hungry. They were never wanting. You know, they were never hungry. I always made sure that they were fed very well and often. Lots of snacks in between. We'd go to the mall a lot of times. She never liked it when I talked to anybody. As long as I kept moving when she was a baby in the stroller, she was happy. You know? But when she started walking, she didn't like her legs. She didn't like to use her legs. She'd always come over and grab my leg and go, for me to pick her up. And I would have to keep telling her, you need to walk. She never liked to walk. She didn't like to be on her legs, see? She never liked to use them. And I still don't know why to this day. And anyway, I was always afraid to take her to the doctors, you know, because I didn't want them to be like, experimenting on her. I didn't want her to have any surgeries or anything like that. I didn't want to believe it was anything serious. I mean, she was walking just fine. She wasn't lazy. She just would rather be carried or be in a stroller or be in a wagon or anything where she wouldn't have to walk. She was happy. We'd always go to the toy aisle and look at stuff, and I'd let her, look at all the toys and stuff. We did a lot of coloring when we were at home. Let her pick our first Barbie, which was Ariel. She loved The Little Mermaid a lot. I don't know if that was it. I don't know what her first favorite movie was when she was a baby. I think when she was really little, we watched a lot of whatever Terry was watching. So they would just watch. She loved Tupi and Binu. Strawberry Shortcake was really a big deal for her. She loved Strawberry Shortcake. We had all the DVDs for her. She knew all the songs by the age of 3 by heart. She's very smart. And very, very old soul. Had a very old soul. I always talked to her like she was an adult, I never treated her like a baby, right? I never did that. I always believed that, they deserved me to talk to them like adults. Little adults, but adults nonetheless. She loved, whenever we'd go to the park, she loved the slide when she was really young. She'd always go up and down the slide a lot at the park. And of course, she loved the swings. She always loved the swings. She was not too crazy about water or pools or anything like that either. But when we would go down by water, by any kind of water, it was her happy place. Definitely her happy place was if there was seashells by the seashore, anything to do with water, beaches. It was her favorite thing. Making sand castles, the wood. She'd like to sit or climb the wood by the beach there, close to the water. And she'd like to be in her little bare feet and splashing around in the beach water. She absolutely loved that. So Serena was very much a water child. My son, you could put him in a bathtub for hours and he would be happy. And a lot of times he didn't want to come out. So he has a lot of memories of being shivering and cold. Well, I'd grab the towel to try and get him out, but I'd wait till the water all drained and then I would bring him out, right? Because I didn't want him to slip or slide or anything. And then I would wrap him in a towel. And I would hold him real tight. And we'd go around in circles and I'd sing to him. And he'd have a little, I believe Terry had a duck. It was a little duck hood that went on him, and then I'd wrap it around him. Little duck towel. They were such good babies. Serena's favorite toy. I'd have to say Barbies. Anything to do with Barbies. She just loved Barbies. I couldn't afford to buy her all the expensive stuff, and she never did get the Barbie van. She never did get I don't know if she might have eventually got at a garage sale. I found a Barbie car or something, a Barbie airplane or whatever, but she just loved Barbies, so I'd buy her, at garage sales. It's all, I didn't have any other money, Dad. Her dad never gave me any money for their entertainment or for anything. Said he could never afford for them to go to dance classes or any extracurricular activities. I couldn't do anything either. He said, we don't have the money for that. So they couldn't go to any of these classes or do anything unless it was involved through school, It's not my fault. when Serena was little, she had this green snowsuit. I got in trouble with her once for that. I had a doctor's appointment. She had to go in for vaccinations every, 3 months or whatever, 3, 6, 9 months or whatever. And I made an appointment to take her to the doctor. I had to take her to the doctor, and I didn't have a clean outfit for her. I didn't have anything clean for her. Just her little snowsuit. So I put her little diaper on and put her snowsuit on, because if you don't give the doctor's office 24 hours notice, you have to go. And I went. And I left her little snowsuit on, and I just unzipped it a bit, but I was worried. I didn't want anybody to judge me. And anyway, the doctor's office was fine. She got her little appointment. She has to be in a diaper anyways when she gets that done. She's already stripped down to nothing for that, so that wasn't a problem. And as a good mother, I wanted to give her something to eat on the way home because she was hungry, and I thought we'd stop off in this little restaurant. And it was warm in there. I should have got it to go. I wasn't thinking. But I unzipped her snowsuit a bit, and one of the waitresses noticed that and called the police. They never brought the breakfast. I didn't know what was going on. I said, "Oh, it's coming," and they lied to me the whole time. And like an idiot, I just stayed. I should have just walked out. I don't know what I was thinking. But they were waiting for the police to arrive. The police officer sat down and started asking me a bunch of questions. Is this your baby? Is this your child? How come she doesn't have an outfit on? What are you doing in here? What's your husband's name? And then he calls him on the phone right there and humiliates me at the table, and he calls him and he says, is this your wife? Is this your baby? Is this, oh, they were concerned about your wife because she has your daughter and she's not dressed properly, and then after he did all of that, and Steve's like, oh yeah, it's mine, yeah, whatever. Everything's fine. They had to confirm that with my husband to see if I was insane or something. And all I wanted to do was just feed her because she was hungry. And then he's like, oh, bring the food now, bring the food. And it was sitting there getting cold. Well, I didn't eat it because I felt humiliated. So I just took my baby and I said, can I go now? And I got into the van and we drove home. And I felt like an idiot. Never did that again. Never went back to that restaurant again. But that was humiliating. She had this green little suit on, so I called her Green. That was her nickname. And then when she was like 2, she liked to go around to walk on her tippy toes all the time, so I called her Ballerina. She liked doing ballerina stuff. And then I never bought her little ballet shoes or anything. I couldn't afford that kind of thing. But she was probably watching something on Treehouse, It had all the cartoons and stuff that she liked. When she was 3 years old, she could climb stairs really well. We had a big window in our living room in our military base house. It was a duplex. There's like 3 others around us. And we had a little puppy. We brought a puppy home called Pokey. We wanted to buy a whole bunch of different kinds of animals so they could grow up experiencing dogs and cats and bunnies and guinea pigs. Whatever I could get away with bringing home, I would. Somebody was giving away a guinea pig, and then I brought that guinea pig home, and then my husband would give me shit for doing that, and then I got to keep the guinea pig, and they got to experience all of that. I loved them too, but I did it more for them, so they could experience what it was like to love animals and have animals. And Pokey had babies. I bought this pool because I read somewhere, heard somewhere that you can put the mother and the puppies, they'd be safe, they could walk around and stuff and not get lost or stepped on if you put them in like a regular little those plastic pools. So I put one of those in the house and put a whole bunch of towels down. She had her babies. Well, she had her babies, actually, one of them, she had her first one really early, about 4 o'clock in the morning, in the living room. And I remember waking up and I heard this. And I looked over and there was a sack out of her. I had a feeling the night before that she was getting close, so I just happened to sterilize scissors, and I happened to read about what to do and how to take care of, if this happens, and what to do and how to help the mother pup or whatever if they don't know what to do. And of course she didn't know what this was for the first one. She just saw this thing hanging out of her. And I said to her, Pokey, it's your baby. And I took some scissors, because you can't, it's so strong you can't rip it with your fingers. It's like a little ball. It was like a little ball, like a little egg almost, in that shape. There's a little puppy inside there, and you have to take scissors and cut. But if you're not careful, you could cut the puppy, and you don't know where the bum is, and you don't know where the head is, or the legs, or anything. So I had to feel around for an area that felt like there was a bit of an opening, and I just did a little, and then I just opened it up a little bit like that, and I said, there's a little movement in there, and I said, look, it's your baby. And then she started licking the sack, and of course, their strong tongue, and she knew exactly what was happening. Anyways, there was 5 pups. One of them was probably Patrick, wasn't breathing when he came out. A few hours later, it was like 4 hours later, one was coming out about every 20 minutes. And of course I was nervous, because I didn't know if I was going to do everything right, and I didn't have any training when it came to baby puppies being born. But she knew what to do, and she got them all the other ones out of the sack perfectly fine once she knew what it was. And I didn't have to help her after the first one. But one of them wasn't breathing, and I had to, blow into his little nose and mouth and clear it, and upside down, and pet him on the bottom and get him to make a sound. And then he came to. We all survived. And as a mother, when we were trying to find homes for all of them, both of them were holding a puppy, and they wanted to keep one, each of them, and so we allowed them to each keep a puppy. And so we ended up with 3 puppies for like 17 years. We still have one now. She's going on to 17 years old now. We still have her. She's Timbit. She's still alive today, but the other 2, Patrick got cancer apparently, and Pokey went in for eye surgery and never really recovered, was traumatized, and I think she had a stroke. She got dementia and then a stroke, and she was traumatized by the surgery. And one morning she just kept yelping nonstop, yelp, 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 and she wouldn't stop, and I couldn't console her. It was like she couldn't hear me, and she didn't know I was there. So I think she had a stroke or something, and I just knew that if I couldn't console her, it was time for us to take her in, put her down. So that was hard. She wagged her tail. When we put her down there before we took her in, and she was wagging her tail and looking up at us like a normal puppy she was when she was young, almost like she knew. And she knew her struggle would be over. Still miss her today. What an amazing pup. Anyways, I did all that for my children so they could grow up having animals in the house. I thought that was what a great mom would do. We can't afford all the riches, but we could have little animals and stuff. And of course, when our son was 4, we took him to the zoo. He was with his grandpa Pearson and Thelma. They came to visit. I think that was in Texas. We went to a nice, wonderful zoo. We went to Marineland, and we would take him to Canada's Wonderland. Take Serena and Terry, would put them in their little red wagon, and I'd walk all the way downtown to our little festivals and buy them cotton candy and candy apple. And Every day, usually in the evening, we'd go to the park. Their whole childhood. We'd go for lovely walks with the wagon every night. I would take time out of my life to do that for them. And after I fed them a wonderful supper, and we would go out to the park, and I'd let them play with the other children. Thought that would be enough, my comfort zone and theirs. They'd meet lots of children, and they'd play, and they'd never want to come home. And bought them little bikes, and sometimes Steve would buy them a bike. Maybe he bought them a bike when they were a little older. I don't remember. I had to beg for everything from him. I had to beg for Pokey. She loved the swings. More so when she was older. She would hang out with one of her friends on the swings all the time, and then whenever she got upset or stressed, she would ask me to take her to the swings, and we would swing really high together, and we'd laugh. She told me she'd always remember us on the swings. Usually be the evening, before it got dark. We would go until the mosquitoes started getting bad. It's unfortunate that I was on mental medications at that time when she was like 3 to 9, 3 to 10 years old. I was highly medicated. It really did affect a lot because I did a lot of sleeping. That's what my doctor did to me. She took away my time with my children. Time that she didn't have to do that to me too, but I was forced to take medications through Veterans Affairs, or they wouldn't give me therapy, and I wasn't tolerating the medicines, and I was always going to emergency all the time for 8 to 10 hours because I was always afraid I was dying because I'd have real heart attack and stroke symptoms, and my children don't understand the struggles that I had to go through and how I had to fight to stay awake just to be out there to let them do anything. And my son would have to be home. He'd get to play with his friends, but he'd have to be home by dark. And he seemed to have forgotten all of that too. He didn't make a lot of friendships because he wasn't that kind of kid, He never did any extracurricular activities. He could have done all of that. My daughter didn't do any extracurricular activities either. That's not my fault that they didn't do that in school. That's not something that I have to be blamed for. But she loved pink. When she was young, everything was pink and princess stuff. That's why I called her Princess. That was her latest name that I called her, was Princess, because she loved princess tiaras, fancy shoes. We'd go to the secondhand store, and she'd go for the vintage gowns and stuff, and she'd want all of the vintage stuff and ask me if she could wear that to school in kindergarten. And I didn't let her do that because I knew that she'd be made fun of, or they would tell her that it wasn't allowed. It's more dress-up clothes. And it was hard for me to explain to her that she couldn't do that. So I'd let her buy the stuff, which I couldn't really afford, but she would go around with her cart and fill up the cart in the thrift store. It's a place called the MCC. She would fill it up, and I knew I didn't have money to get all those things, but I would find a way to make sure she got as much. I would get less, and she would get everything all the time because it made her happy. She loved going shopping. She loved filling carts. She'd go into the back there and try on all the outfits and the clothes and the coats and the shirts and the pants. When she was like 12, when she'd go to these dances, she'd always want a new outfit that I couldn't afford to buy for her, but I'd always save a little bit of money for her so she could go and get a new shirt or new pants or a new coat or just something so she could feel cool when she went to the dance. I'd drop her off and worry about her the whole time. We'd go to the mall a lot together. We'd buy these pretzels, these bread pretzels. She always knew where we were. I'd always ask, where's this store, where's that? She always knew what direction to go. She knew the mall like the back of her hand. And I was always so happy to spend time with her. It was such a joy. She was such a joy. And she'd always tell me, she'd say, Mom, I love spending time with you. It's my favorite thing to go to the mall with you. I look so forward to it every week. See, Serena's very routine. She has to have the same things happening to her all the time. She lives for routine. If she goes to the mall on a Thursday, she always wants to go to the mall on a Thursday at the same time. The same person, you know? That's just the way she is. Well, anyway, this video is about to end. We're getting up to 56 minutes here, so that's all I'm going to say tonight. And we will talk again tomorrow. These are like my little memoirs, I guess. There was a time when she was happier that she said that she wanted to hear about her childhood. And she liked it when I would tell her stories about what she was like when she was young. Even though she doesn't like me now, because she's 20, and I hear from every mother that that's normal. Every mother's daughter says and does the same thing. Doesn't like their mother, doesn't want anything to do with them, hates that they have traits like their mother, wants to be some individual. I keep hearing from these mothers. How old is she? Oh, that's normal. That's what they always say to me, and then they walk away. Oh, that's normal. And I keep saying to myself, but it doesn't feel normal. When I go through all my memories of raising them, I did everything. Everything was for them. It was all about love. Everything. Little freezy pops that I would make them. The little muffins that I'd give them. The ice cream cones when we'd go out. The candy store where I'd let them pick something at the candy store every day or every other day. Take them back to the little dollar store, the dollar section, and let them find something. Value Village was great. We'd always go back to the toys, and they'd always find something to take home. I mean, I really spoiled them, you know. I had them in the nicest outfits. I had to buy them for $1 or whatever at garage sales, but we'd go to garage sales all the time, and they'd get to pick what they wanted for next to nothing. How is that a bad mother? I don't know. You tell me. Alright, I'll let you go. Till next time.